Alright guys, I just want to make this quick video concerning the two witnesses, and more importantly, specifically about when they may be crucified. Because, I mean, no one it could be any time. I do believe we know from the two witnesses that the second passing of the throne's going to hit, literally, it says 1 hour after they resurrect. But just to go through it quickly anyway, Revelation 10, they eat the scroll, the angel comes down from heaven, he gives them the scroll, they eat up the little scroll, he says, now you must go and prophesy again, which is suggesting that either one or two of these two witnesses have already done some sort of ministry prophecy publicly before this time, because this is the trumpet, because he comes down, the angel, and he says the seventh trumpet's not going to happen yet, but it's going to be delayed. This is basically so the two witnesses can come. And he says, yeah, you must prophesy again before many kings, peoples, tongues, and nations. So many kings, languages, nations, so they're literally going to pass through countries, which there you go. I mean, there's a misconception, it's quite funny, there's a misconception that the two witnesses are just going to be in Israel, and then they're going to preach for 3.5 years in Israel, bring in the plagues of Moses and Elijah. And it's kind of like, when you try and imagine it, it's going to be like one of them cartoons, you know, and the Antichrist is going to be trying to kill them and stuff. It's like they'd be running around the city walls, well, they're like this in circles and stuff for like 3.5 years. It's almost comical that people think they're just going to be in Israel in one place. This is because the scripture says that they're killed in Jerusalem. But like you say, well, in Revelation 10, it says you must prophesy before many kings and nations. So they're going to pass through nations. So, well, I know that they're coming from different lands, and they're going to exodus to Israel, and then finish, and then they're killed. Because, well, if you just go through it quickly, he's going to give power to his two witnesses, and they're going to prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These be the two olive trees, the two anointed living beings, two anointed mortal prophets. And these are the two candlesticks which stand before God of the earth. Now, these two candlesticks are the 7 candlesticks of God. These are the two same candlesticks or spirits of God which God gave to Moses and God gave to Elijah. This is why these two people are going to do exactly the same thing. By character, by what they do in their life, in this 3.5 year lifetime prophecy, that you're going to say, oh, that's Elijah, that's a Moses, because they're going to be able to do the same things. They're going to be like part the sea, like Moses. They're going to be able to turn the waters into blood, bring plagues upon the dry ground. They're going to be able to part rivers like Elijah did. They're going to be able to, well, let's go through it actually. So these are the two olive trees, the ones which stand before, and the two, these are the two olive trees, anointed beings, and these are the two candlesticks which stand before the God of the earth. Moses and Elijah's candlestick which stand before God of the earth. And if any man shall hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devours their enemies. And if any man shall want to hurt them, this is the manner in which they should be killed. Again, Elijah, they're not going to be breathing fire. Elijah spoke out of his mouth fire to come down. He says, if I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50. And guess what? Fire came down from heaven and consumed 50 men that were trying to kill Elijah. And so that's what it means to bring down fire proceeds from their mouth. It's the order for fire to come down from heaven that comes from their mouth. Do you get me? So that's Elijah again. Boom, Elijah trait. These have the power to shut up the heavens that it does not rain in the days of their prophecy. Elijah did the same thing. He said, according to my word, let no rain fall on the land even for 3.5 years. So no, according to his word, but it was the power of God through Elijah which it was done. And it says, these have the powers to turn waters into blood. Of course, in Egypt, the time of the Exodus, when my father Moses came out, one of the things he did was turn the waters to blood and to bring any plague upon the dry ground, it says. And that's exactly what he did in Egypt, all the plagues in Egypt which happened. So these two are going to be exactly like Moses and Elijah in their works. Mortally, I don't know. Elijah went up and he was raptured, and he went where he would have puff of dust probably as he went off into the heavens, and he put on his spiritual body never to return. I'm not getting into it, but you can't return as a spiritual person. After you're raptured, you can't return again to the earth. So people are expecting someone who hasn't died to come back again and die. Well, they're pissing in the wind, because they're expecting the same law of that mortal body to come back and go, where are they coming down? Were they going to come down from space? Did God put them on a freezer in heaven and then bring him down? No, it's rubbish. Just two new mortal beings. Just like the Son of Man, Jesus Christ, was born on the earth as a mortal being, and then his spirit came down as a dove and embodied him. It's kind of like the evil trinity kind of works the same way. Satan's created 3 clones. The clone of Pharaoh, Barack Obama, the clone of Jesus Christ himself, King William, and the clone of the Jew, Peter the Apostle, which is Pope Francis, Peter the Roman. So Satan's did the same thing, and it's the same kind of thing, only spirit demons will possess them. The Antichrist is going to get possessed by Leviathan, who will come up from the abysses of the oceans, and the Pope is going to be possessed by Baphomet, which comes up from the abysses of the earth. And Satan himself, the red dragon, when he gets thrown down, and all his angels, he's going to possess that human clone body of Barack Obama, lightning from the heights. Luke 10:18. So it's kind of like the same, would it be like the same thing where the mortal bodies come back? I don't know. And so they'll prophesy for 3.5 years, bringing the plagues of Moses and Elijah, going up against the Antichrist, William, and the dragon, going to war with them. But when their time is up, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit, that embodies William, will make war against them and overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually called at that time would be Sodom and Egypt. And when he is killed in Jerusalem, I believe totally that it's going to be a crucifixion as well, because these things are, it's when you study God, and then people tell you not to study evil, but when you study evil, you'll see what permissions they have, and that they can't be like God. Do you know what I mean? Like Satan, good example, Satan created the LGBT, the gay pride, right? But he couldn't use, and everyone goes on about rainbow flag, and I say it's not even a rainbow. It's not a rainbow, because there's only 6 colors on it. 666, color of Satan. And so, God allows Satan to only do as he wills. Now, crucifixion was for us, for Jesus Christ to be crucified on a cross like that. the throne of God is coming. In the shape of a crucifix. You shall see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the heavens. The sign of the Son of Man, the cross. All right, so yeah, they're going to be crucified. The Antichrist, although he's an Antichrist and he's coming instead of Christ as a deception, guess what? He's not crucified. No, he's killed by a head wound. And he recovers from that head wound, but he's not crucified, because this is the thing for us. So I believe the two witnesses will actually be crucified, just like Christ was. All right, guys. And another thing concerning the two witnesses being crucified at Christmas is, some say, I haven't really looked into it and confirmed it myself, but just a little one, is that Christmas means like Christ killed, like mass. I don't know how true it is, but wouldn't it be so fitting that the closest things to God, the closest thing to Christ that we'll have on the earth at the end of the age are the ones like Moses and the two prophets that are going to be bringing the power that was given to Moses and Elijah? Wouldn't it be fitting that they were actually crucified around that Christ Mass time?
Dead bodies to be put into graves. And it says the people on the earth will, this bit now, it says, make merry and send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them which dwelled upon the earth. So they're happy they're dead because they tormented these people, which, like Sodom and Gomorrah, will be all the transgenders and all the same-sex marriage people and all that. And so but this is what I'm getting to about the time period, because, you know, I can't ignore it. And so it says they make merry. Now, what time of year or what time do you ever use that church? It's like people go Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, because, you know, God is not an accident. And the thing was, though, Christmas, Satan didn't create his Roman Empire and his pagan Roman Babylonian Empire until 300 years after Jesus Christ, and then the Roman Empire started building a fake Christianity for Satan's son, the Antichrist. And they've built it: Sunday, Easter, Christmas. And so, but this wasn't at the time of the book of Revelation. There was no such thing or term known as Merry Christmas when this was written. So this is not John, you know, it's like the KJV, like, slipped in Easter there, because at that time, King James knew about Easter because it had been drummed into his head. And Sunday would have been the holy day on that day as well, but it had been drummed into his head about Easter. So when he was writing about Passover, he actually accidentally put Easter. Do you know what I mean? Because Easter was at that time, but at the book of Revelation's time, there was no Merry Christmas. Do you know what I mean? They brought that in later. You know, the Sunday wasn't even created till 300 years after Jesus Christ. All right, it was created a rest day of labor first, easier, and then they made it a holy day. Well, we may as well go to church now, because you can't. See, you can't do both things. You can't say, you know, you go to church and it be a work day, because you need to rest from your labours to go to church.
And so, you know, anyway, Merry Christmas wasn't a thing when this was written. And then it says, sent gifts one to another. Now, the only time really that we send gifts one to another would be Christmas. It's not Mother's Day, it's not Father's Day, it's not Valentine's Day, and even if it was, do you know what I mean? Gifts one to another, that is always going to be Christmas, isn't it? And this last year, I mean, like, it just took the piss, because it was about, like, I think it was like October, and I was just hearing about Christmas, and I was like, whoa, man, this is just too much. It's like they're preparing for Christmas like 3 months in advance, and it's like, go away. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, just these two words, really, these two phrases in the Bible, they make merry like Christmas, and they send gifts one to another like Christmas. So there's a possibility that these could be around Christmas. Now, but if the second passing of the throne, well, not if, but the second passing of the throne, Neberu, will happen, literally, it says the beast will kill them, they'll make merry, but it says after 3 days and a half, but it says, after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from God shall enter into them, and they shall stand upon their feet, and great fear shall fall upon them that saw them. And in that very hour, and then he heard a great voice from heaven, saying, come up here. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And by the way, the whole world's watching, which means this is a time only of live broadcasting. Where people can see. It says the whole world watches their dead bodies, right? The whole world watches. You couldn't have that in Jesus' day. They sent a letter. They have to send a letter to Rome. You couldn't see anything. It was read a letter. But now we're in the age of internet, live streaming. Joe Blogs can see live. Joe Blogs dead on the floor in Jerusalem as long as he wants. So this is the time for this prophecy to be fulfilled. And so the dead body shall lie in the streets of Jerusalem after 3 days and a half, spirit of life. Anyway, they ascend up to heaven in a cloud, and the enemies beheld them, and great fear fell upon them. And then in the same hour was a great earthquake. This is the second passing of the throne locking on. Tenth part of the city falls, 7,000 people are killed, and the rest of them worship God like scared, yeah? And when they do resurrect, this is when the seventh angel sounds in the heaven. Still in Revelation 11, the seventh angel sounds in heaven. Now this is also the great harvest rapture of the old scripture and Revelation 14. And so, yeah, this is what's going to happen. But the throne always hits on a full moon, like Passover feast, like the Crucifixion feast, like, you know, all these times. Like the first passing is going to be on a moon, well, full moon, you know, because in Revelation, when the throne hits for the first time at the sixth seal, it says the sun is darkened and the moon goes blood red. The only moon that can go blood red is a full moon. So you know the phase of the moon. So so you know that there's going to be a full moon for the second passing of the throne, as it was for the first passing of the throne. So these two witnesses are going to be killed in Jerusalem at the on a full moon. So I was looking at, so it's like, well, okay then, Christmas. That's pretty simple. It's like what year? So then we've always been looking at 2029. Here's just something else has popped up, but I'm gonna have to make another video about it. And that's if you go try not to drop it, but it's a great revelation that I had the other day.
And anyway, you go to December now of 2029, and guess what? It's a blood moon. You know, in one of my previous videos, we were talking about Pride Month, which again, these are, by the way, if you've not noticed, these are solstices. These are solstice feasts that he's made for himself Christmas on winter solstice, and now they're making Gay Pride Month on the summer solstice, which is William's birthday. He was born on the summer solstice because he is the sun god that the Illuminati are bringing in. Expecting, but he was born on June 21st, 1982, summer solstice, exactly how the Satanists wanted it to be, because that's their sun god being born. Anyway, they've made June 21st the month of Pride and all this shit, so they're making the feasts here. I mean, do you know what I mean? They've got like feasts on the solstice. They counterfeit our feast on Passover with Easter. And so anyway, but the great thing about 2029, yeah, is remember when we had our tetrad, it's getting into this other thing now, but we had this tetrad of full moons, didn't we, in 2014, 2015, right? Passover, tabernacles, all in a straight row like that. They all fell on God's feasts. Well, in 2029, the two blood moons are going to be on June moon, all right, about the 23rd, I think. And it's going to be on December moon. There's going to be a full blood moon, December 20, 2029. Now, that's not dead on Christmas. But you know that the way things are going anyway, that people are going to be ready and have their gifts ready by December 20th. You know what I mean? And it's just that time of year. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, you could have the full moon at the beginning of the month and then it'd be like, no, that's not possible. But in 2029, you've got a full moon on December, so like 5 days before Christmas, and it's going to be a blood moon as well. So just as a little symbol of what's going on there. Like, and there's another thing that I want to drop, but you know, it'd be better off if I made a video about it. But remember like less than a year ago, 6 months ago, we were talking about Tevet 14th and how it, talking about eclipses anyway, how it was the middle stem and all the eclipses stemmed from it. Like going back to where it was there, Tevet 14th, January 5th, 6th, all right? And then 2014, 15, go that way, you know, 3 months, you get to the Passover 2015 blood moon, go backwards, you get to Tabernacles 2014 blood moon, and so on, and equal days. And do you know what, it didn't even stop there. That was just so, you know, shout out to Daniel Taylor who came up with this revelation. But from Tevet 14th, January 5th, 2015, all the eclipses stem out like this, and it goes back forever, man. It goes back forever. You can even take these eclipses that we got now. You can even take, sorry, I didn't want to get into this whole Tevet thing, but anyway, I'll just drop it. This Christmas, December 20th, 2029 blood moon is actually Tevet 14th. And it doesn't happen. It hasn't, you know, it's easy for blood moons to drop. They can drop any month, you know. Sorry, I need to make another video about this, but from that December 20th blood moon, right, 2029, you go back 30 years.
So that just gives you, there's been a 30-year gap between them. And so, you know, the candlestick, the stem of the menorahs of eclipses, see, by that you can even tell that it's nearly impossible for that stem to become the full moon, blood moon itself. But yeah, but in December 2029, the stem that holds the blood moon, the full moon that holds all the other blood moons, that becomes the blood moon itself. So yeah, so I just wanted to drop that there. It's a possibility that the two witnesses could get killed around Christmas time, and if they do, then, you know, that's the second passing of the throne happening around then. They're resurrected, they go up. The second passing of the throne happens, the 7 bowl judgments are poured out, and then 45 days later, after the day they were killed, is Armageddon, just like in the days of Jesus. It says in Acts, because he was killed on the first day, preparation day of Passover, that was day 1. All right, and by the time he was resurrected, it was actually into day 5, because he was dead for 3.5 days. All right, and then he resurrected, and it was actually the 5th day, and then he stayed on earth for 40 days, and then he ascended. Daniel says that there'll be 1,290 days until the end, but blessed is the one who waits and comes at the 1,335 days, which is 45 days later. And this is an end time prophecy. So he's saying that 45 days later, the daily sacrifice is going to be taken away, and the end's going to be. But Jesus won't return. He who waits and comes, he won't return until 45 days later at the 1,335 days. And it's exactly like Acts. It's exactly like the crucifixion, you know what I mean? So when I believe when the 2 witnesses are killed, the day they're killed, that'll be 45 days until Armageddon. They resurrect after 3.5 days, like it says. They ascend and everything else. And the bowl judgments are going to get poured out. And for that, 42 days is going to be the effects of the bowl judgments. But you have to read about that, and it's literally hell on earth. And they gather them at Armageddon. In that 45 days, they gather the kings of the earth together at Armageddon, and then Jesus comes, and he, like Acts says, he will descend in like manner as he ascended 45 days later. At Armageddon, and it's all over. And so yeah, and hopefully that'll be that's the day of the cleansing of the temple, and then you can count all the way back 2,300 days, and you should get to the day where the temple is going to be dirty in God's eyes. Anyway, I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. God bless you all. Amen.